Hi, my name is Hannah Roby. I am a homeschool mom of 6 children. I have been homeschooling for 8 years. I wanted to get on here and just share a tip that has stood the test of time in my homeschool that I know will bless you richly. And it's one of the growth of attention. Growing attention span is the first step of any type of homeschooling. So I have I have 2 boys. One just started school this year. And I've been working with him now for a year since he was in kindergarten to grow his attention span and teach him how to do that. And through that, he mastered his sounds and his letters through kindergarten and is reading at a first grade level right now. But this first stepping stone and the laying that solid foundation is the joy of attention. And I say the joy of attention because it will become joyful. So to do that, and this is the trick, and it is so simple, but it requires diligence on your part as a parent, is daily reading aloud. And that sounds so simple. And I know that many parents read all sorts of things to their children. But I would, for a kindergartner, and you want to grow this gift of attention for them, starting in kindergarten, really. And it is a hardship for your kindergartner. It can be, especially for the child who is very busy, who, like my son, would love nothing more than to roller skate everywhere in the house, wants to play basketball all the time. Having to sit for any length of time is a sacrifice. And it was so difficult for him when he was in kindergarten. And so when I start my children out, I want to read a book that is not full of pictures. So I'm not picking a picture book. I'm picking out something like My Father's Dragon is a great example. A Little House in the Big Woods, Farmer Boy, which is the story of Almanzo, Little House in the Prairie. There's many others, but you're looking for a book that's between the 2nd to 4th grade reading level. Think of a child that's in that age gap that's going to be reading those books independently. You want to read them out loud to your kindergartner, and it requires them to have to sit. There's not pictures on every page to entertain them. There's no big bright colors to get them to sit. You're not doing these activities where they're touching the pages or anything like that. Instead, they're having to sit and just listen. And when it first begins, this whole process, they may not have anything that they can share about what you've read. But if they've learned through this process not to be disruptive, the first step has been won. You've won the first step, and it is such a sacrifice. And I will say it's worthy of praise, right? For a child who is so busy, and it is great sacrifice for them to have to sit for 10 minutes and listen to a story that they have no interest in at all because they're not interested in sitting. But for them to do it and they're not disruptive and they're respectful during that time, that is so worthy of praise. And you can say, wow, you did a great job listening today and sitting here and not being disruptive. I'm so proud of you. And slowly over time, as you incorporate this into your daily habits, they will start to listen to those stories and they will get so much out of it. But I want to just say it is the solid foundation that paves the way for every learning. And I've seen this for all of my children. And for the child, like my firstborn, who was a natural reader, she in kindergarten would ask for me to read books at that level to her, could sit for, and 45 minutes at a time and listen to reading of all sorts of kinds. And then having the very, very busy young boy who struggles to sit for any length of time at all. And it's such a hardship. And you realize, wow, thank you. You've learned how to sit. But now he is 6 and he's asking for me to read it. And if I don't remember to read Little House on the Prairie, he reminds me he wants to listen to that book. We're also working on the 5 Little Peppers and how they grew. It's such a sweet story, and he's really enjoying listening to that. Some other books I would really recommend, any of the Thornton Burgess books, like the Mother West Wind stories, or I can't remember the name of it, but they're basically the stories about Peter Rabbit, and he's having a conversation with Mother Nature about animals in the forest, and they're such sweet stories. They're great natural history books for children. Charlotte's Web, The Trumpet of the Swan, also by E.B. White. Stuart Little is a good one. One that we've loved, and I will say this is such a fantastic book, is Farmer Boy, which is the story of Almanzo, and it is very much a coming of age book for a young boy. He's 10, and you see him grow. He has so much responsibility, even as a 10-year-old, to tend to his crops of potatoes, and he has to train these yoke oxen to break them. But his dying wish, his great wish, is to be able to break a colt, and the specific colt that his dad has. But throughout the story, he's kept at arm's length from these colts, and he's not allowed to touch them. His dad doesn't even want him to talk to them, nothing. And that's his great wish. But he's proven himself throughout the story to be trustworthy and hardworking and honest. And at the end of the story, he's given what he desires most, which is to break a colt, and this specific colt too of his father's. It's just such a sweet story. So I'm kind of going on this tangent, but I just want to express, though, if you lay this foundation for your children, what you're doing is more than just teaching them their letters and their sounds. You're teaching them self-discipline and the benefit of that. And you can't replace that with anything else in this world, I think, than with reading. If you have multiple children, like I do, we do this as a family read aloud. My oldest is just in 7th grade, and I will say Little House on the Prairie is far below her reading level, and she still enjoys listening to the story, and she goes back through the series herself and will read through because she just loves Laura Ingalls' writing. But it's a wonderful activity as a family, and then you can use that as a time also to teach your younger children how to narrate, how to share what you read. So you start with the youngest and say, okay, what was this story about today? What was this chapter about? And they may have something to share. They may have nothing to share, but you can praise them for their efforts of sitting still and not being disruptive, right? And then you go up the line, and your oldest can share the full sequence of events and the emotions and the details of what they were wearing and where they went and what the weather was like, even, or something to that nature. And it really is a learning experience even for your younger children to hear that. But I just wanted to really speak on this. This foundation plays the biggest role in all of the homeschooling that I have done. And in an age where everything is digital and everything is instant gratification, this is the number way to combat that ADD tendency that we all have. We all have that in this world of scrolling through our phones and always having something that we're looking at, and we could just quickly change to fit whatever we want to feel or we want to look at. And but the greatest way to grow your attention span is through reading and listening to reading. And the last thing I want to say is this pours over into other areas of your life. You know, I'm the mom of 6, and so I get up on Sunday morning, get everyone ready for church. I have, little girl's hair to do, get everyone fed, everyone's nicely in the car, and then you show up at church and you have this very disruptive, I'm sorry, my light just went out, this very disruptive child, and you just think, oh man, I would love to be able to sit here and worship the Lord, and I have this young elementary child who is being very disruptive, and you want to teach them to not do that. And obviously during church service is not the time you're going to teach them to behave well. It starts at home. And so this is one of those tricks I have found that really pours over into that environment, where you could be at any setting. Let's say you have to go to a more serious service, or something like waiting in line at a doctor's office, or at, the DMV or something, and you just are there for a long time. Your child has already learned what it feels like to have to sit for a length of time. And hopefully you've grown that over time. You're not, second grade and still allowing them to only listen for 10 minutes. I mean, you could be growing into a half an hour plus. Now this rolls over to other areas of life where they have acquired self-discipline. They know what it feels like to have to sit. They know the expectation to do that. And it's so valuable. And so, we're called as parents to help guide and direct our children. And what a wonderful way to do that than to teach them self-discipline. So I just wanted to share that. I hope that this is life-giving to you in your homeschool, and be richly blessed this week. And may your cup just be overflowing, just be full and overflowing as you pour into your own family, and that it won't feel as a sacrifice. Just be filled by the Lord. And yes, be blessed. And I will speak with you soon. If you have any questions or thoughts on this, or you want to pose a question, do it in the comments, and my post here. I'm just getting started on my YouTube channel, and I hope that it is successful. Not so much for my sake, but for all the things that I've learned and the mistakes that I've made that I would love to share with other new moms, that can forego some of the pitfalls that I've fallen into. But be blessed. May the Lord bless your home richly and your family. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.